Hi, everybody. State Representative Tracy Ehlert here at the Iowa House. I have my Clerk Truley with me again today. If you've been following along each week this session, we've been doing different lunch and learn topics. And this week, one of the questions that we get asked the most is, what do you do all day as a legislator? What does your clerk do for you? And so we're going to kind of talk about what our day looks like. I'll talk about my duties during session versus the interim when I'm back home. And then Truly will talk a little bit about what she does as a clerk. And Truly, you interned in the Senate also, didn't you?
Yeah, I did my senior year of college.
Okay, so I might ask you some questions about that too, because then that will give listeners a little bit of idea about interning also, which is also a possibility up here at the Capitol. Mm-hmm. So during session, my day is different every day. We get these nice schedules every Thursday that tell us where we will be for the upcoming week. It has, you can't see, but it has our committees listed. So like this week, I only have one committee. Typically, I would have committees each day. Those committees do not stay at the same date and time each week. So for example, this Thursday, I have education at 10:30 a.m. Next Thursday, I probably will not have education at 10:30 a.m. I'll probably have education on Monday at like 2 or at 3. So it's kind of tricky because you don't have your schedule until Thursday before the upcoming Monday when your schedule starts, and your committees do not stay at the same time. Sometimes you don't have all your committees in a week. Sometimes certain committees, especially like education and human resources, they'll meet multiple times in a week. So you don't even know how many times your committee is going to meet. Then you have caucus. We've already had caucus once this morning. We're going to go back to caucus here in a little bit. I actually have to pay attention to my phone because we're going to get called in at any minute because we'll be debating later today. So you have caucus that can be called at any time. So that's never on your calendar. That's just as needed. And then debate. You get a blue calendar like this. The blue calendars are your debate calendars, and these are placed on your desk whenever there is bills to be placed on the debate calendar. And this lets you know what could potentially be debated. So like this is tomorrow's debate calendar. There's 4 bills on it that are eligible to be debated tomorrow. Now we might debate those 4 bills. We may not. We might debate one. We might not have any debate at all. But this kind of gives you an idea if you see one of these on your desk that, oh, we might be debating these tomorrow. Sometimes debate will cancel committees. They might decide we don't want to have that 10:30 education committee or any of those morning committees. We want to debate in the morning. So they might call committees off and you'll go to caucus and you'll debate instead. So really, really hard to plan your days during session because you don't really know what's going to happen from day to day or week to week. And then you also have a lot of meetings and events. This year with COVID, there's not as many face-to-face events. So I'm doing a lot of Zoom meetings like today. At 3, I have a Zoom to get on for some like county childcare stuff. Tomorrow I've got another Zoom to get on. So you kind of try to fit those throughout your day as you can also. Actually, with them being Zoom, it's a little bit easier because I don't have to actually travel and get somewhere. So I'm able to hit a lot more meetings this year, but they're jam-packed during session. Trying to think of other things that I do. So I could be pulled out by lobbyists at any time too if they want to discuss certain bills. So that takes up some time responding to emails, getting my birthday mail. So I got to sign all my birthday certificates for my older constituents. I got to sign all my birthday postcards for my younger constituents. Truly helps with that. She gets them stuffed and sorted by date and gets the postage and stuff on them for me. Checks the obituaries to make sure that we aren't hopefully sending to people that have passed away, because that, we try to avoid that, make sure it's updated in the system. Send out a lot of certificates. I don't have one with me right now because I just mailed them out, but different certificates of recognition and getting the newsletter ready. I'll let Truly kind of talk about what she does, so you don't have to keep listening to me, and then I'll talk a little bit about what I do in the interim when I'm not here at the Capitol.
Yeah, so as Tracy said, I help with, getting out the birthday certificates. I file a lot of Tracy's different things that she needs, like documents on different bills, the bills themselves. she's very organized. She has really well organized binders. She has a great system. Love her system. So yeah, I file a lot of things. Those are the in-person duties more. So I'm working from home right now because of COVID. So a lot of the days it's me sorting through her emails, making sure that she is able to respond to every constituent that reaches out to her, and being the amazing rep she is, she does respond to all her constituents. So that's great. I make sure we get all that data logged into our vote builder system. If you're not familiar with that, with VAN, that's how we track, keep track of a lot of different things for representatives and their constituents. So yeah, a lot of my day is that. What else? I feel like I'm forgetting
I
things.
usually send you these after the debate.
Yeah.
So I can track them on my voting record, so we can keep track of what bills we passed in the House and how I voted on them if I ever need to look that up. Not only I track them, not only so when I'm responding to email, I can look up and say, oh yes, I did vote yes on that, or I did vote no on that, but because you don't remember all the bills, especially when they're referenced by a House file number. Now, if someone says like, oh, how'd you vote on the school funding bill? Then, I recall it a little better, but if they're like House file, I'm looking at this House file 621, how'd you vote? The numbers don't always mean everything to me because there's just so many numbers here. But it's also nice to have that record because maybe the bill, there's a similar one, or it didn't go over to the Senate this year and it gets brought up again next year. I want to try to stay consistent with my votes unless I learn new information that sways my vote from one year to another. So it's nice to be able to go back and look at those so that I am voting consistently on the same bill if it's introduced again. So she helps keep those organized and track those for me also.
Oh, I also help with keeping Tracy's schedule up to date with all the events. She does have a lot of those Zoom events happening right now, as well as if she does have a committee scheduled, then I'll make sure that's on the calendar. I help with social media occasionally, help craft a post or two here and there. I will read through the Cedar Rapids Gazette and make sure that we're not missing any information that needs to go into the newsletter. Look at the local public schools websites and social media sites to see if there's any information there that we need to relay in the newsletter. But it really just depends on the week and the day because, there's different needs on different days. So.
Yeah, her week can look very different, just like mine. There's always the things you have to do that are consistent every day, but then I am texting her throughout the day like, okay, now I need you to do this, and now I need you to do this. And the duties are a little different too with her working from home. There would be different things that she would do if she was here every day. We've kind of had to utilize some of the pages for some of that stuff this year, like going to the post office each day, getting the mail, sorting the mail, going through things like that, doing different runs for things. So a little different this year. So I have a few questions for you, Truly. Why did becoming a clerk interest you? Like, I know you worked on campaigns, you did the Senate internship. What attracted you to wanting to be a clerk? Traditionally, we see a lot of students in here, especially law school students. And so it's always interesting to me when we have the graduates that want to come work with us.
Yeah, well, I actually do plan to go to law school probably after the pandemic is completely done and over with. I don't learn well off campus, so I'm kind of putting that off for now. But I really just wanted to see, how the sausage gets made. I wanted to see the legislative process is so intricate and there's so many different levels to it. And I've learned so much about the process and just so much about being a legislator through you. And I'm so grateful that I've had this experience with you in particular because you're amazing and I love your work. So yeah, I'm very glad I got this opportunity to work with you.
What has been most surprising about the job, either good or bad? I think I always believe in transparency. So like, what was maybe something you thought you would do that you haven't had to do, or what was something that just, everyone goes into the job not, I think, really knowing what a clerk does. So like, what was something surprising? And you could give a good and a bad.
Well, so I think the duties are pretty on par with what I expected because I do have friends that have clerked in the past. And so I kind of knew what to expect there. I think the harder thing was when I was working in person and like I'm very opinionated, and like, I'm glad that we had masks because I was definitely making some goofy faces listening to debate. So keeping composure and just like how difficult that really is when you're there and you're very passionate about an issue that someone is talking about in a way that is infuriating. I think that was the most surprising part to me, because I just wasn't expecting it to be as bad as it is. With,
different when you're right here face to face.
Right.
I'll read the paper, listen to the news, and be like, "Are you kidding me? They really said that?" Or you have to kind of just roll with the punches here and think those thoughts and make those faces in your head. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes they come out on my end too, and I just have to kind of be discreet about it. There's just some things that really make your jaw drop, and you can't.
It's shocking.
Help it. Like you just never know what anybody's gonna say here on the floor, And it's just very impassioned, and like there's lots of there's just so much. There's a lot of feelings happening on the debate floor at all times. So It gets easier because you have your certain people that then like things just don't.
You expect it.
It might make you sad or might make you mad, but you just you come to learn to expect it. So it gets a little easier. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it does get easier. Oh, now we got talking about that. I forgot what else I was gonna ask you. So
I think I've learned to. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think I've learned to like how to interact with the process more as a citizen as well, like leaving public comments and contacting my legislators in a way that's going to be effective. I actually wrote an email to Tony Bisignano last week because he voted on a bill that I was not pleased with. So I think I've become more comfortable with getting involved personally in that process. So that's really cool too.
Would you say that you feel more comfortable just because you're learning more about the process, or do you think it also helps that you've gotten to meet some legislators and you realize that we are just people and it's not as intimidating? I hear a lot of times, people are scared to write their legislators or approach them or come to Day on the Hill events because we seem scary to them. And I try, to tell everybody like, I'm just like you. Like I go through these experiences too. I'm just here to be the voice. Like I'm not any better than you, like I'm not special because I'm up here. I am just the voice piece for my district. I want to bring those voices, to the floor.
Yeah.
And I just really try to make sure that people are comfortable, approaching, and there's just a lot of intimidation. So like what do you think made you feel more comfortable?
Yeah, I think it's definitely part of that, but also I feel like maybe in the past I didn't think that legislators would actually read or respond to different messages, but like seeing that a lot of them do. I mean, I know they're not all as responsive as you are, but I think I know now that like their clerks are seeing these things and they're probably taking note and talking to their legislator about it, which is cool. And I think it is that like I think we do put legislators on a pedestal a lot, and we kind of make them into these celebrities that seem untouchable and unapproachable. And I think I just over the past like 2 years, I've really come away from that. I used to really like idolize like AOC and a lot of other legislators, but I've definitely come away from that because they're just people and they're fallible, and they are there to represent us. So we should be utilizing them for that. So I think it's a lot of those different components.
It's a lot more relaxed here than you probably thought, right? Like that was surprising to me too. yeah, definitely. Yeah. So let's go back to your intern job a little bit, because that's also interesting since you've had experience over in the Senate. So tell us a little bit about being an intern, what you did in the Senate, why you wanted to intern. So
so my experience was actually a little different because it was during the interim. I was there during the summer, leading into the summer. So I started so I went to Cornell College. Let me back up. I went to Cornell College, and we do the block plan. So classes are only 18 days. So my last block I did off campus here in Des Moines. to intern with the Senate research team, which was really cool. And we were working on mainly getting, trying to get a special session for that cannabis oil bill that eventually failed. So that was like the main thing I was working on, putting together social media posts, cutting together clips of senators speaking about it, sending letters to different press outlets to try to push them to publish things about it. So yeah, there were a couple of different things I was doing there, mostly social media and audio and video editing. I helped record a radio commercial. I don't remember which senator it was with. That's so terrible, but that was really cool and fun. I enjoyed that experience. Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely not the norm of experience because it wasn't during session, but it was still really cool and interesting. And I met some neat folks over there on the Senate side. So I really enjoyed it.
So I'm going to put you on the spot now. What do you like better, the House or the Senate?
I really like, I just like clerking because I don't know. And I also just like, I get to talk to you and hang out like on these Zooms. So that's really fun. I don't know. I think my duties are a little different. Like they're very different for clerking. And I wasn't being paid in the Senate, so it was more relaxed. And that was an unpaid internship. So I did get class credit though. So like, but yeah, I like clerking. I like them both a lot, but I really like that I get to interact with you personally. So I do think I prefer the clerking experience. Yeah.
And for those listening, thinking about different opportunities at the Capitol, there's also for the high schoolers, the pages too. And if I would have thought about it, I would have pulled one of them on for our call also to kind of talk about their duties. But we can certainly, if that's a topic you want to hear about, we can certainly do that on another session. So I'll talk about before we go, because we're trying to keep these to our, around our 25 minutes or less. But in the interim, there's still a lot of work to do also. So legislators are paid part-time. We're considered part-time employees. However, anybody that follows government knows that our jobs are really not part-time because there's always work to be done. So in the interim, which usually starts at the end of April or beginning of May, then I'm back in my district 100% of the time until we come back to the Capitol in January. So there's always still emails, although I don't have a clerk anymore once the interim starts. So I have to try to keep track on all of that myself while still working my regular full-time job. So that is kind of tricky. I have to actually schedule chunks of my week designated specifically to tending to mail and email and such. So you still have your emails coming in, you still have a lot of constituent work, you might have constituents having trouble navigating the unemployment system. That was a big thing with COVID and the derecho this year that I helped with. Maybe you have somebody with a Medicaid issue, all kinds of different constituent issues you might have to help work on. Still have your mail. I have to take all these nice birthday mail home with me. When I'm up here, I have Truley helping me with them, but then I have to take May through December with me home and make sure that every week I'm getting these out in the mail and I'm getting them signed and everything. We still work on bills. That's actually like the biggest time of year for us to work on our legislation, because when you come back to the Capitol, when session starts, you have a timeline to get those bills filed. And even though we're currently in session right now, that cutoff's already hit. So I can't file any new bills during session. And I think that's a big misconception. People think once we're back here, well, some people think we can file bills just any time of the year, and we can't. We have to wait till we're in session for them to actually be drafted. And then you have a cutoff, which I don't have my calendar in front of me, but it was a January date, wasn't it, Truley?
I think so.
February, the first week of February. So it's a couple weeks after you get here. You can always add amendments to bills, but you can't draft a bill. So you only have a few weeks once session starts to get those drafted. So you want to do your work on deciding what legislation you're going to propose and talk to any parties that you might need to talk to gather information while you're in the interim. And then like November to January is when you're really finalizing the details and deciding what you want to introduce for that upcoming session. So there's a lot of work on writing your bills and thinking about that. Of course, we can't really talk about campaigning since we're in session right now, but you always have to keep that in mind if you're going to run again, how you're going to manage that which looks a little different when you are a legislator. Scheduling events, you want to make sure that you're having constituent events so that you have outreach. COVID's made that a little bit harder. I've tried to do some online things, not always great attendance on those. So that's why we came up with these lunch and learn. So it's something that if somebody does want to listen to, it's available at their leisure and they don't have to try to get on at a certain time and do it. So trying to do those. I still do a lot of, so both during interim and session, a lot of meetings with different businesses, constituents, organizations. They are always wanting to have the legislators come and do tours or talk to places. So like last Friday, I went to the new Linn County Mental Health Access Center that's located in my House district, and they were doing a tour and had the different agencies like Foundation 2 and Abbey Center representatives also there to answer our questions. So I want to thank Senator Mathis for getting me in on that, because that was actually something she had scheduled and let me join in with her. So tours are limited a little bit right now with COVID. So a lot of them are being done virtually, but I did get the opportunity to go in person and look at that. So those are still done a lot in the interim, still a lot of meetings. And as you get closer to returning back to the Capitol, they really ramp up, because then all the agencies decide like, we're finalizing our legislative priorities. So we need you guys to draft bills for us. And it gets really busy doing all of that. I feel like I'm missing stuff, because sometimes when you just do it every day, you don't really think about it. So truly, if you think of something I'm missing, we still do our newsletters in the interim. So that's a little bit harder when I don't have somebody helping me gather that information also. That's why I really rely on the constituents. We always want the constituents to email us if there's somebody in the district that needs recognized, or we've been doing the constituent spotlights this year also, trying to find constituents within the House district that have, unique stories, uplifting, because we, in this news of all the COVID and stuff, we could really use some uplifting messages. So uplifting things, new businesses, anything like that. So if you guys have anything to share with us, certainly email those. So I really do a lot of constituent contacts still, so that I can get information out there that you guys actually want to read about, not always just the legislation, because that's, it's about the people in our district also, and knowing who they are, what they represent, what they want to see us do at the Capitol. So I feel like that constituent piece really needs to be hit hard. So yeah, a lot of constituent work and a lot of getting ready. You're just always getting ready to go back to session, because once you're in session, it's more about focusing on how you're going to vote and learning about the bills. And the interim is about what legislation you want to present, and looking for your clerks. You always have to interview a new clerk each year and look for a place to live again when you're coming back, and those take time too. Did I miss anything?
I think you covered it all. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot, and every week just looks different. So, which is good and bad. Like I said, I like knowing where I have to be each week. So it's really hard for me to have the schedule that changes all the time. But I really do like how every week is different. It keeps things interesting. Sometimes not in the way you want. Like, this has been an interesting week of debate. I could really, really wouldn't bother me if some of these bills disappeared off this debate calendar. But
I can think of a few.
Yeah, I can too. Especially today on my birthday, I really don't want to debate guns. It's such a hard topic here, because they think we want to take their guns away, and we do not. We just want to make sure people are safe. So that's always a tough one. And yeah, last week was a lot of really great bills, bipartisan support. So last week was a good week. This week's a little rough. And it's just, always up and downs here, and you never know what's going to happen next.
Okay.
So anything else you want to share, Truly?
Not that I can think of, but everybody wish Tracy a happy birthday.
Thanks. And well, I guess I would ask you, would you recommend clerking to anyone that's ever thought about it?
For you, definitely. That's all I'll say about that.
Okay. So
everybody should clerk. It's fun.
Well, thank you truly for being on here again with me, and thank you for everybody that's listening. We'll be back again next week with a new topic. Have a good weekend, everybody.